Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. Si es jueves. Buenos dias, señoras y señoritas. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, a show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel here with me to break down all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements and fuckery, and all of the relevant information that has trickled out the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. First and foremost, though, before we get into all the fun and fuckery, gentlemen, how you doing over there? I know Galty's half glued to the Packers game right now.
Shh, the Packers are playing.
Good shit, bro. How about you?
Oh, I'm here. I'm a little sad that it's not a pay-per-view, but I'm glad that we have got fights to talk about this weekend. So, with that being said, we will jump right into it here. We will kick things off the way we like to around here with a little bit of news and recent events, fight confirmations, fight cancellations, relevant things in the MMA world we feel that you fine folks need to be aware of that have happened or have been announced since we saw you wonderful folks last. That being said, we do not have a whole lot of news, so we're just going to run right through it this week. First and foremost, we have been talking about this on and off for well over a year now, but more so definitely in the recent months. And then we got another little piece of kindling added to the potential bonfire that is One Fight Championship. We got confirmation this week that they have released 5 of their top fighters across 2 different disciplines. They have released 3 of their top MMA fighters and 2 of their top kickboxing fighters, as well as officially moving the One Championship headquarters from Singapore to Bangkok, Thailand itself, where they have the vast majority of their shows. No official reason has been given by the company, but multiple different media outlets have made official requests onto this subject. So hopefully we get some kind of an official answer as to what the fuck is going on over at One, because it sure as hell seems like all the rats are starting to get off the fucking ship and it is sinking faster than ever. And that is not necessarily a good thing, because we say it all the goddamn time. The more opportunities there are for fighters, the more fights we get to see and the better fights we get to see, because the determination works itself out. Fewer organizations means less opportunities for fighters, less fights for us to watch. Always better to have more organizations, and especially when we're talking about one as big as One Championship here potentially going down, that could not only take a lot of the MMA off the board with all the multiple disciplines they're putting on all their fucking cards, that take kickboxing, that takes Muay Thai, that takes submission grappling, that takes a deep toll across the entirety of combat sports. So obviously they need to get their shit together, but I don't want to see them go under because of the fuck ups that they've been having lately.
I
So
wonder if
we'll
that's
see
going to
how that one
stop
goes.
Chatri from fucking just handing out bonus after bonus after bonus after bonus now.
You would think so, but last weekend he was just as eager to give them out, to the extent that the one guy last weekend who missed weight and then won his fight, they made a point to mention it, and you saw Dom Lau like holding his earpiece while he was waiting to talk to the dude, and then he made a point to tell him that had you not missed weight, Chatri just told me you would have received $50,000. Like, they're Oprah with that fucking money over there. So even though the ship might be sinking, Chatri's still trying to make it look like it's not, at least. We'll see how long that lasts, though. Couple of news here in the fight world. We talked about it a little bit. There have been rumors from both sides going back and forth the last couple of weeks about Shara Magomedov, Shara Bullet, the fucking one-eyed pirate, potentially fighting Paulo Costa at the UFC Qatar coming up later on this year. And then this week we got the official confirmation that that is not even an option anymore, because to his credit, Shara Magomedov has decided instead to undergo nose surgery after that fucking crash course we saw him have the last time he was out there. He has decided very wisely, in my opinion, to go get that completely and correctly, professionally fucking fixed before he decides to get back into the fucking cage and try and take on some top guys again. So much as it is disappointing that I do think Paulo Costa versus Magomedov could have been a very interesting matchup, I would also much rather see Magomedov at his fucking top as much as we can get him for the time that we're going to have him, because that one-eyed motherfucker is not going to have long time in the fight game, least of all if they're trying to bring him to the States, where he will have to see some sort of a more realistic medical screening to get his licensing. How much so? Yet to be determined. But the fact that he's taking this last set of injuries seriously enough to get his nose fixed, which we all saw at the end of that fight, very much needed some fucking milk. Like, that's a smart move in my opinion. So make it count. Don't just burn through your fucking career. Make it fucking count. So good on the pirate in my book. Couple interesting announcements here. The first one for MSG, November 15th, UFC 322. I did not think we were going to see this name again anytime soon, least of all on a fucking pay-per-view, but here we are. Angela Hill stepping in to take on Fatima Klein on the MSG card. I don't even understand why that belongs on the fucking prelims of that card, but as we say, UFC is going to UFC, so it is officially official. It's on the fucking pay-per-view, or on the pay-per-view event, I should say. It's pretty sure going to be on the fucking prelims, but either way, even then's a little bit egregious for that fucking fight's placement, in my opinion. The next one here, I honestly am a little surprised that this one is getting made, especially considering the last time we saw this person out, they allegedly had a fucking seizure. So UFC, of course, is going to rush to get them right back in there. Of course, we are talking about the one and only Macy Barber has now officially been booked back into the UFC. They're going to put her on the final pay-per-view of the year, UFC 323, December 6th at the end of the year, against none other than Karine Silva, one of the Fighting Nerds' top fucking females, who I am fairly confident is going to beat the shit out of Macy Barber to end the final year's pay-per-view and potentially the final UFC pay-per-view, with Paramount Plus taking over and getting rid of pay-per-views next year. So the final pay-per-view for the UFC period could end with Macy Barber getting the shit beat out of her and the Fighting Nerds taking another one back in the W column. So we'll see as we get a little bit closer to that one, but man, does that seem a little bit of a weird one to me. Last one I've got this week. It has been a minute since she has been in the UFC, but she did do the bulk of her combat sports career in the UFC. None other than Cynthia Calvillo has officially announced this week that she is going to retire from combat sports. She ends her career with a record of 10-6-1, 6-6-1 of that coming from the UFC, with just her 4 most recent fights being outside of the UFC. And after this last one, she decided, you know what, the fire just isn't there anymore, and there's no sense in putting my body through this regiment when I can be still involved in the fight world in a different aspect and not having to get punched anymore. She said, I got to feel like a superhero fighting in the UFC, so thank you for that opportunity, but it's time for me to turn to the next chapter in my career. I say it all the goddamn time, and I will continue to fucking say it. I would always rather see a fighter make their own decision to hang up their gloves while they're still able to legibly sign their own name and tie their own fucking shoes than the game retiring them. I might not have been the biggest Cynthia Calvillo fan in the world, but I'm always happier to see a fighter make their own decision to end their career than to have that decision made for them. So, Cynthia, I hope you have a most prosperous career outside of getting punched in the face. Please don't sign up for Buck and BKFC in 9 months. That being said, either one of you gentlemen have anything I might have missed this week?
I have no idea what you said. All I heard was football. I'm sorry.
Cynthia Calvillo quit. That's about it.
Oh, that one I saw. Whatever. You win some, you don't win a lot, and then you retire.
And then you hang on. That's right. So, that being said, this would be the point where if this were a pay-per-view card, like it was originally supposed to fucking be, we would be talking about how it would be doing a pregame episode this Saturday with with this gentleman right here. But unfortunately, now that Guadalajara allegedly couldn't build their stadium in time, and they have moved UFC Noche back to San Antonio and removed it from the pay-per-view status, now it's literally just a fight night, and not even that great of one to begin with. We have found ourselves lost for a chance to have ourselves a pregame show, but we can't just have this guy sitting on the sidelines. We got him hooked on fighting. We got to keep him in the fucking loop now. So we are going to go ahead and give ourselves a nice little episode or a nice little segment here of our favorite casual corner with our favorite casual flintlock. How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. How about you guys?
Another day in paradise, as they say. So, with what is left of UFC Noche up for grabs this weekend, we have got a replacement short notice match for the co-main event, but a very, very interesting match in the main event here. So we will start with our co-main event. We have got the OG Rob Font still on the card, even though Chihuihui's fucking bailed on his ass, now taking on actual Mexican fighter David Martinez. How do you think that one plays out?
I'm gonna go Martinez.
There's a very
Yes.
good chance he's younger. He might very well be faster, and he's on a little bit of a tear. So Martinez has a good shot.
Yeah.
That being said, we have got a very interesting main event here. Diego Lopez taking on the nerd's own Gian Silva.
I'm gonna do it again, even though I feel like I condemned them last week.
I was gonna say, I know with your recent heartbreak last weekend, it might be tough to make this call.
I'm gonna go with the nerds again. I'm not gonna waver. I'm gonna go with the nerds again. They're gonna take it.
I definitely think there is a very, 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 very good chance that you are correct on that one. I think this one, last weekend was a little bit more of a coin toss. This one, there's some opportunities, but the odds are definitely more stacked this weekend for the nerds to pull one off than they were last weekend, I feel. So we'll see. We'll see how that one plays out.
Yeah.
That being said, this would normally be the point where we would bring in the kid who fingers the pulse and tells us about all the names that are going to be names before their names and shit. But unfortunately, life is life, and the kid's not here. So instead, we're going to give you a quick little rundown here. There are, I'll put it this way. We talk all the time about how the UFC leaving the apex generally does a pretty good job when they were on the road of bringing in fighters that are tied to the local scene. This one being Noche, originally down in Mexico, supposed to be a celebration of Mexican fighters in combat sports. A little bit better than average, but still definitely leaving a lot to be desired here. There are almost more Brazilians than Mexicans on this card celebrating Mexican independence. A couple of them are, double dippers. They are on both sides of that fence there as well. But for the most part, this is not really much of a Mexican celebration that Dana tried to hype this all up to be. There are still some good ones, but this being a fight night and no longer a pay-per-view, you can tell that they absolutely put some more of those hangover style contractual obligation fights on this card, as opposed to some of the bigger fights that you should be putting on a pay-per-view card, or a card, celebrating Mexican fighters. But that being said, there's still some interesting ones on here. I'm not even going to say his name, but I hope Zachary's wins. The Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos fight is relevant for the division. Both of those gals have had a glimpse at the top of the stack and showed themselves definitely not on that fucking level. So it makes sense that they would now take those two Rock'em Sock'em robots and make those two face off. Jose Medina versus Dusko Todorovic is like the battle of the 500 fighters. Like, both of those dudes are one good win from starting a run, or one good loss from just getting cut because they've been there and done that long enough that they should be better than they are. Could make for a very good fight, could make for a very boring 15 minutes and a pair of walking papers at the end of the evening. We'll see how that shakes loose, though. Alexander Hernandez versus Diego Ferreira is a very similar matchup, not necessarily because of the records or the rankings, but because of where both of these two are in terms of their career. They are both journeymen who have struggled to make it to the top for quite a while now. Could be an interesting fight. I will say, to his credit, Hernandez has been training his ass off up in Colorado with Brandon Royval and a bunch of those kids for a hot minute now, and they are talking about how ready he seems to be for this fight. Ferreira is one of those, like, don't got to get ready because he stays ready type of motherfuckers. So this could be an interesting matchup. This could be a very boring, 15 fucking minutes isn't over yet kind of fight as well. So we'll see. We'll see for sure. The main card, I will say, is interesting as a whole. Kelvin Gastelum struggling to stay above 500. Dustin Stolfus trying to get his way up into the top 15. Another one, running theme. Could be a great fucking fight. Could be a very hard to watch 15 minutes as well. Running theme, like I said, Jared Flash Gordon versus Rafa Garcia. Rafa, to his credit, has had a couple of rough bumps in a fairly good ride so far in the UFC. We all saw Jared Gordon get screwed against the fucking judges when he beat the shit out of Patty. He's had a couple of rough ones. He's had a couple of good ones, but Jared Gordon has always been a middle of the road journeyman here. Another one could be a great 15, could be a bad 15. Really hard to tell at this point. Co-main event, like I mentioned earlier, short notice change because originally the UFC wanted to UFC and put Chihuihuis in the fucking co-main event of the Noche to help try and build the hype for it. And then a week ago, he announced that he was too hurt to fight, but he's still apparently going to be going and doing a whole bunch of fucking meet and greets and then doing a watch along party at some fucking bar in San Antonio this week. So go fucking figure on that one. And while he can go fuck himself, props to David Martinez for stepping up on short notice, especially against the fucking OG of OGs like Rob Font. We have seen Rob Font has no issues throughout his career stepping in on short notice and being basically just as fucking prepared as he would have been from a full camp. Rob Font is just that motherfucker. Could be interesting here. This very well could be a passing of the guard that they were trying to get Chihuihuis in there for. This could be Rob Font taking a second to remind motherfuckers that some of the old dogs still got a bit of fucking bite to them as well. I don't think this one's going to be boring either way it goes. Either this is going to be a sad moment for Rob Font because Martinez is here and he's doing the goddamn thing, or it's going to be quite the opposite. It's going to be we're watching a kid struggle for 15 minutes to figure out what the fuck this old vet is doing because he can't stop a goddamn thing. And there's a genuine possibility for it to go either way here. The main event, though, that is the absolute chef's kiss topping to this fucking card. Diego Lopez and John Silva have already expressed this is a very important fight for the division, but B, a very personal fight because they don't like each other and they're not shy about the fact that they don't like each other. They are very willing to go settle this in the parking lot and have talked about it before, but now they're getting a main event and a big paycheck to do it, so they understand they have to control themselves until then. But there is no fucking love loss between these two to begin with, and now you're giving them big fucking paychecks and spotlights to have their goddamn fight in. They both understand the importance of this fucking situation. So this is a very, very interesting stylistic matchup, in my opinion. Diego is primarily a striker with sneaky jiu-jitsu. John Silva is primarily a striker with sneaky jiu-jitsu. Both of them have great fucking groundwork. Both of them have great ground defense. Both of them have great striking and great movement. This could be just clash and clash and clash and clash until somebody figures out how to get one over. This could be a very short master class as well. I don't think, much like the co-main event, I don't think it's going to be boring, even though there's not really any clear advantage on either side, in my opinion. I think this is one where their styles are similar enough to make it interesting, but different enough to make it very undeterminable from an outside point looking in. This is going to be one of those where we very well could be talking about it for half an hour after the fucking fights are all said and done. There's some good shit on the card. There's some bad shit on the card, but it is overall a damn good card, in my opinion, here. And considering they almost called the whole thing off when the Guadalajara situation happened, I am much happier to watch some mediocre fights and a couple of potentially good fights than no fights on a weekend that's been built up for half the fucking year. So that being said, do you have any other fights on the card that you are particularly interested in over there, Flintlock?
Not particularly. Just the main event, really.
That's kind of what I thought as well. It's all good. It's definitely going to be, it's got the potential, I should say. I won't say it's going to be. It's got the potential to be one of the bigger fights and the bigger main events of the year, despite this being a fight night and not a pay-per-view anymore. Especially if either one of them does the damn thing like definitively.
I'm not saying that I'm not excited for any of the fights. That's just the
Right.
one that I know more about. I'm
Right.
always excited for fights, regardless of if it's going to be a walrus slap fight or not.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So With that being said, that will bring us to the one segment of the show that does require its own individual disclaimers. So, if you will, Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, they do let you go onto their site, create a free account, and make fantasy style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups. So we made one of those. It's called I'm No Bookie, all one word, or group 965. However, you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Make yourself an account, join the group, and let us know who the hell you are. And we will hold your picks accountable with our picks in the segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
All right, short, sweet, and to the point. I know somewhere in the beginning of this broadcast, I heard somebody mention Bangkok. Well, I want to say the meter banged cock really bad and did not enter any picks last week for the Imavov Bahio fucking card.
I
You give
did.
any excuses you want, that's fine.
No.
But
I actually talked with Don about this. I did enter picks, but the site did not reload when it entered, how it usually takes you to the your picks are in square. And I didn't see that because I was doing other things and stoned as fuck until the next morning when the picks were already locked and it was too late to fix. So I did put them in, but I just didn't put them in well enough, apparently. Story of my life.
Okay, so we have ghost picks. Still Bangkok situation, period. Look, just because you failed to check the box doesn't mean that you did it. I'm just saying. Now, with all that being said, I get an attaboy. I took the top spot. However, I would have had 11 of 13 correct had the co-main and fucking main went the way I thought, thinking I was going to get a clean sweep out of the fucking fighting nerds. But, somebody had to shit the bed over there. Now, at the bottom of the pile was old Vindog out there sitting at 6 of 13. Everyone else in the group, over 50%. Vindog is just stomping on his dick left and right lately. I really hope he gets it back together and gets a good run going. But that's where that is for last week. Now, quick check in on just the wonderful things that are our Fall Grand Prix, which has 6 more events, including this weekend coming up, ending at the end of October on the 25th. Right now, because of my another great fucking week, I'm still leading the spots here at 1090. Christian is slightly behind me at 1020. Donna, somehow, even though she was pretty close to the bottom this week, sitting at 1005. Don 830. Vendog 805. Still not in the bottom spot because somebody failed to get their picks in, even though they won the first fucking week here. I'm saying, need to get your picks in this week. Make sure you're checking the boxes. Now, with all that moving on, and no more Bangkockery, we're going to do some quick calling of some of the odds here. This week, I see BetMGM has been out there. I just want to let everybody know that. But I'm going to go completely fucking wild here, and we're going to use FanDuel. Because FanDuel's odds can be a little fucking wacky from time to time, so we're going to use those this week. For the most part, as per usual, there are a ton of coin flips. So we're just going to cover some of the slightly wider odds, and then of course, the co-main and main. We're going to start with Amanda Lemos and Tatiana Suarez. A very important fight for that women's division. Suarez coming in as a minus 430 favorite, I think she's the number 2 seed in that division, and Lemos a plus 320 underdog, and I think she's like 4 or 5 if I remember correctly, somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, the odds make sense, but I don't think they should be quite that wide. Because to be fair, that that specific division isn't all that strong. So the numbers are made up, the points don't matter. It's kind of like whose line is it anyways. Another one that's a bit wider on here is the Aiden Correa and Alessandra Costa. We've got Costa coming in as a minus 420 favorite. and Alden coming in as a plus 310 underdog. Newer fighters getting some wider odds. I kind of like it. I'm not against it. Another one of the wider odds on the card here is the Disco Todorovic and Jose Medina. I'm not gonna give him the Daniel because you already fucking know that. We got Disco coming in as a minus 340 favorite, and Jose coming in as a plus 260 underdog. And pardon me while I'm watching people get first downs while I'm doing this. Now, one last one that I am going to cover. There's no crazily wide odds. If you haven't noticed, I haven't gone in any specific order. I'm going to hop up to the Dustin Stolfus and Kelvin Gastelum. Jesus fucking Christ, words are hard. Gastelum is somehow managing to come in as a minus 260 favorite over a plus 210 in Dustin Stolfus. So, God only knows. That's kind of a weird one there to me. But, hey, when I did look across the board through other betting areas, they're all pretty similar in having Gastelum as the favorite. So, maybe FanDuel isn't quite as crazy as we think they are. Now, of course, for the co-main and main, Jared Gordon, Rafa Garcia, Jesus fucking Christ. I can't say Garcia. No? All right. Well, time to quit. Garcia, since I can't say it, is coming in as a plus 190 underdog. And Jared Gordon coming in as a minus 240 favorite. I'm not surprised at those odds. They're still slightly close to a coin flip. Not quite, but they're close. But the best of them all is going to be in the main event. Where the hell did that go? Why did that just go missing on me? Uh-oh. Bear with me. Technical difficulties.
Bruh.
Looks like they're fairly. Oh, wait a minute. And you know what I just did? I just gave you the wrong fucking co-main event. The correct co-main event is Rob Font and fucking David Martinez. My apologies. And that one is a coin flip at minus 120 for Font and minus 102 for David. So they're calling it a legitimate coin flip. Now, for the correction here. The main event, Diego Lopez and John Silva, which thank God that one's still on because that is the only thing saving this absolute dumpster fire of a fucking card. We've got Diego Lopez coming in as a minus 240 favorite, John Silva as a plus 200 underdog. Now,
Oh my God, bro.
to be fair, after seeing last week with the Fighting Nerds, there's a good reason to point that way. However, John Silva is not those other two fighters. But I can understand you got to start looking at what's coming out of those camps and how they're performing under the brightest lights, aka the mains and co-mains. When shit like this is happening, tells you maybe we need to rethink our situation with them. So I'm not mad at the odds that they have the way that they are right now. Oh, but those are the odds we've got this week. Go make your goddamn picks. If you haven't joined Tapology Group 965, I'm no bookie. It's absolutely free. If you're a cheap son of a bitch and watching us for free and not a member of the Patreon, I expect you to go and join Tapology because it's free. And it's also fun. So, yeah. Come join us. You'll have a good time.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. So, with that being said, that is going to be just about all we have got for this particular episode. But as is more often the case than not, when we wrap things up around here on Thursday nights, that is not the end of the fun, because even though life is lifing the shit out of him right now, tomorrow morning, the kid and his other half are going to be dropping their podcast, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast, over on Spreaker.com. Links to their podcast and their social medias are in the description, whether you are watching or listening to us. Either way, they are down there, as well as the link to their channel over on the I'm No Joe Discord. So make sure you get a chance to go over there, check their shit out, and tell them how great they are doing. Now, as if that wasn't enough of the fun, even though we may be technically, I say with air quotes, on a summer hiatus, once spooky season has gotten past us a little bit here, you will be able to count on pretty fucking much every Wednesday night around 8:30, 9 p.m. ish Central Standard Time here on YouTube as well, over on the Golf T Vapes YouTube channel. You can catch us over on the Foggy Fairway, mixing bathtub e-liquid up, talking about advocacy, just talking some shit sometimes. It's a good hang. You can come even if you don't do the vape thing. Sometimes you can just come and hang out and have a good time just the same. Links to his stuff all down in the description, whether you're watching or listening to us as well. Go click and check his shit out as well and tell him how good he's doing as well.
Hey, sir. Now, thank God it's in the middle of a replay. We can do this properly. If you don't know and you have time to kill, which we all know you fucking do, the meter does many things, way more than just this. So you can go down below, click on Linktree / the meter does many things, or Linktree / I'm no Joe, and that will take you to each and every one of the many things that the meter does do. Words are fucking hard today, apparently. Apparently I'm too worked up about this fucking game and the way it's playing out. But anyhow, now, one last thing to go out on here because it's important, and I also didn't barely mentioned it previously. If you're not a member of the Patreon, please consider donating. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Feel free to donate. It helps us do what we do. And who knows? Maybe eventually I'll get a fucking paycheck out of this deal. Highly doubtful, but you know, it's worth a shot. I'm just saying, anybody who wants to donate to a poor dad of a single child and a dog, it would be great.
Oh, much appreciated, sir. Much appreciated. Yes, that is going to be just about all we have got for this particular episode. So, if you do like the devil's lettuce and the shenaniganery that goes along with that, do check out The Meter Does Many Things, link down below. It'll take you over to my main channel and all the fun and fuckery that goes on all the time over there. Otherwise, the I'm No Joe link down in the bottom will take you to everything attached here to the I'm No Joe, as well as doing these regular Thursday night podcasts talking about all the fights that are going on UFC this weekend. I also drop over on the YouTube Shorts tab what I love to call the combat sports menu for the weekend, not just the UFC, but all of the combat sports you need to be aware of happening every damn weekend. You can check that out if you don't know what's going on. On the other side of that, once the weekend actually kicks off on that same Shorts tab on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe, I will give you at the very least a picture behind me if they're not assholes with copyrights, possibly even a video of the finish for everything you need to be aware of that happens during the course of the weekend, because that's the kind of psychotic commitment that I give to you fuckers. That's what I am here for. So if you appreciate the crazy shit that I go through to bring you all the crazy shit that goes on, youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe. Every Thursday, there are fights to talk about. We are here 9 p.m. Central Standard Time-ish. We leave that up for the replay because it also gets dual streamed over to twitch.tv/I'mNoJoe. Both sides, the replays get left up so you can come back, catch them later on if you want to. If you don't want to catch the replays, I understand. I also own mirrors for that reason. The week after we go live, we also put the all audio format podcast out over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. Google Podcasts, Apple, Spotify, whatever you use to consume your podcasts, it's all there and it is free just the same for you as well. But if you really like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are turned on. However you're picking this up, we appreciate you. But if you really want to go that extra mile, patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, helps us do what we do. We put your name on the end of every broadcast to let everybody know how fucking awesome you are. And on top of that, any level of donation gets you access to the unaired and unairable behind the scenes nonsense, as well as new exclusive content coming just for Patreon only, to let you know that we appreciate you helping us do what we do around here. Now, to be fair, on the other side of that coin, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you doing this deep into a podcast that you didn't enjoy? Give it a thumbs down and go fuck yourself. We won't even dispute it. That being said, that is going to be all that we have got for this particular episode here. And I didn't want to mention it at the beginning because we had a lot going on, but today is a very special day here in America. This is 9/11, the memorial of one of the greatest tragedies in our history. And I would be sadly fucking remiss as an American if I didn't end this program by giving just a moment of silence here for everyone that was lost and everyone that still continues to deal with that horrible tragedy. So we will see you all on the next one, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh.